Here with Martin Edralin, the writer director of Islands, the his first feature film, which just premiered in the South by Southwest narrative competition, and it tells the story of a 50-year-old Filipino expat in Canada, living with his parents, who is afraid to end up alone when they inevitably pass away. So this is really poignant and moving film, and really distinct in both its characters, its cultural background, and its pacing. So I want to talk to you, Martin, about what your personal stake in this film was, where it came from emotionally.
Yeah, I guess at the time when I was thinking about it, I was not so close to, the generations of the characters in the film, but my parents were getting older and retiring, and I was just thinking about, that point in our lives when your parents start to, they stop working, and I was personally worried that, when you stop working, there are some people that just deteriorate really quickly from not using their brains as much, not having much activity. And that was sort of the starting point. And then also just thinking about some people that don't really or stay single their whole life, whether whether it's divorce and then you end up alone, or if you've just never experienced love. And I think that was actually what I was most curious about, the people that have never had that experience, and just wondering what would that be like. Maybe it's not a bad thing if you've never experienced it and you don't even know what you're missing, but it's also just kind of sad. It's like one of the greatest joys in life to find love or have a partner, and some people just don't get that experience for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm sure those are things that anyone with parents worries about at some point. Um, but you seem like you're not a shy type of person, at least not so much as your main character Joshua. So I'm kind of curious what inspired you to pick such an a person who's really overwhelmed by human interaction as your lead.
Yeah, I was shy. I grew up like very, very shy. I was probably almost mute until I was an adult. And, I guess as you grow up, you're forced into situations where you have to be more social, whether mostly your work life and then all the other bumps and bruises that go along the way. So I mean, I'm very familiar with that, and I'm still, in some ways, I can be really shy. Um, so that wasn't something I had to research or anything. It's still sort of in me.
Interesting. Well, it's cool how you track Joshua's slow growth throughout the film. There's nothing really drastic that changes within him, which is helps make the small steps feel a lot more powerful. And so I'm curious, I guess, since this comes from your personal experience, what what your thematic interpretation is of Joshua and Marisol's relationship.
Mm. Um, I guess I kind of saw them as two people, and they've had obviously very different lives, but there's one character, Joshua, who just never had a chance to grow up, and I don't even see him as being someone that's irresponsible. He's just sort of lived with his parents, and it's very common for, I want to say Filipino parents, but maybe all parents, to always, like, you're always your parents' child. And probably in some relationship, like more in some relationships than others, but like in my family, like my mom doesn't even want help in the kitchen, that's her space. And so I don't know, maybe if I never left home, I might not learn to cook because she just doesn't even want help. And Marisol's like sort of the opposite. She's left home to work, and her work is taking care of other people, or she kind of becomes the mother figure in other people's households. And I guess I thought it would be interesting to put them together, and it sort of turns into this other mother-child relationship, although this mother wants to teach the child how to mature or grow up.
Yeah, I didn't want to project too much of my own baggage onto this, but I was going to say it does feel a little bit Oedipal the way the mom disappears and is replaced by Marisol, and finally she teaches him Joshua how to cook, and then obviously Joshua develops some feelings for her, and that to me was kind of striking, almost like it took his mother passing away for him to finally realize the things he took for granted in their relationship.
Yeah, well, you can also think of it like, and this is just coming to me now, I find I'm learning about the movie as I keep talking about it, but it's almost like that also happens in relationships. Like you meet someone, at least in a male female relationship, where you learn things because women just seem to grow up better than men do. And I guess this is a similar situation, although their relationship is different.
And the direction you took it in the end, where Marisol rebuffs Joshua's kind of almost childish affection, and but at the same time validates it and is really compassionate to him. It feels like no gesture of kindness for her is too small. And that has such a profound effect on Joshua, who's had such a hard time his whole life having feeling, I guess, connecting with other people. So I'm wondering if that specifically is kind of a call to action for how people should treat one another, or if there's a certain essence of empathy that you're going for here.
Yeah, there definitely is. I mean, I think in that situation, in my life, I've had a lot of those like soft rejections from people that I might have liked, and you get so anxious about telling someone or expressing it to someone that you have feelings for, and I find a lot of the time it's like it's okay. It might be awkward for a little bit, but people understand, and for the most part, I've stayed in touch, and some of those people are still friends. And then, as awkward as it feels, there's still a sort of relief to have gotten it out, and it's not going to happen, and you can move on. And I think that's sort of what happens here. Maybe this is the first time he's ever done that, and that's another small way that he's probably grown up, and he won't be as scared to do it the next time something like that or someone like that comes around.
Yeah, I thought it conveyed a really nice philosophy of acceptance, which kind of leads into the next question. I read online that you had some issues at first getting the film made, just because you have such an it was hard to get it funding in Canada because it's a largely Filipino cast, and that wasn't something that the film funds had really allotted money for previously, right?
Yeah, that's right. We have arts councils here, where I think in the US, you sort of have these state arts councils, or at least in some states. But we also have like a bigger funding body, which has a lot more money, and they're I'd say more invested in the commercial side of film and television, whereas the arts councils it's much less money, and they're really supporting artists more than they're supporting an actual project. So the guidelines always said they only fund films that are in English, French, and Indigenous languages. And so I've never considered applying. I've just always thought I'll be making these small films. Maybe someday I'll go to the States and find funding, or wherever else. But they changed the guidelines, and I became eligible, still with these language rules, but I had the conversation with them and made a case that this is a Canadian movie and these are Canadian people and the cast and crew are Canadian. And they understood, and they didn't push back. And so I'm really grateful. They've been supportive through the whole process, through production, and even now getting the film out. But those language rules are still there, and they've been talking about changing them or trying to find a way to, I don't know, I guess support other works or maybe new guidelines of what makes something Canadian. But I think that those rules should go, because this film, yeah, like I said, everyone that was a part of it was Canadian and set in Canada. And so to me, it's as authentic as a film in those official languages.
But it also feels authentic to the experience of the Filipino diaspora, I would imagine. Would you like to talk about that? Is there a reason why in all of your previous short films you hadn't made a film about your own cultural heritage?
I don't know. Yeah, I've thought about this a lot. I didn't make those short films thinking, it has to be about white people. Like, I think that was just, I wrote a script and the people that auditioned were mostly white. And I think that's probably the case a lot of the time, unless you're intentionally saying, you have to cast a certain ethnicity. But, I do also think in hindsight, like maybe there was something, more like something deeper where I didn't realize that, I did envision white characters or lean towards them because that's all I've seen my entire life. I don't know. But for this film, I just wanted to be really intentional about making a Filipino film. There were some other characters, smaller roles in the film that, they didn't have to be Filipino, but I wanted the main cast to be Filipino.
Yeah, and it's a personal touch that I think definitely enriches the film and adds to both the elements of isolation and community that the characters experience. And yeah, that adds up, that all your previous films, just you ended up with a white cast because that's how the industry works. That's a sad truth. Do you feel like your previous short films prepared you to make this film? How your short films prepared you for this feature, both either technically or story-wise, or both?
Yeah. Okay. I realized in the process that my short film whole, I mean, some people have now been saying like this is sort of a continuation of that film. It was also a middle-aged character of someone that was lonely and looking for, human connection or love or sexual experience. And that's something that, I never really intended this to be a continuation, or I wasn't even thinking about a through line between them thematically. It just sort of happened that way. And then I think my second short film, Emma, like Whole was shot all handheld. And then for Emma, the camera almost never moved. And so I think doing that, because I have a tendency to want to shoot handheld and I shoot a lot of documentary. And so I think this film sort of prepared me for having to shoot on a tripod more. And now that I've done that, I'm kind of dying to grab a camera and just move it around again.
Yeah, this film, it felt very authentic, but it also had a steadiness to it, both in the compositions and the rhythm of the pacing. The most extreme example being the microwave shot, which kind of reminded me of a ghost story, that the pie eating scene,
Right.
where the character we experience the full duration of the event with the character to kind of epitomize how time is passing for them. So I'm curious what forethought went into that aspect of the production, since clearly there's an intention there with your style.
That was mostly because of the editor, but we did a lot of like shooting things around the house, just stuff we can use as cutaways, and like we spent a lot of time doing that, more than I normally would. And yeah, we shut the microwave, we turned it on. I think I liked the, you know, the popping of food inside, and we just let it run for, I guess, yeah, it was a full minute. And then when I saw the first cut, the editor had the whole minute in there, and there was no music though. And so I was kind of like, what is this? And I don't know, he was so in love with it. And then I had the idea of putting the opening sort of theme music on there, and then I was like, okay, then now it's fun. And I think it's also like this idea of, you know, time, just time, you know, where the film is about people aging, and I liked having it as, I don't know, some little thing that speaks to that, and it also like cuts the movie perfectly in half.
Right, it's like an old-fashioned kind of intermission almost.
Exactly, yeah, but a fun one.
So having examined these themes that were on your mind before going into production, having really delved into them in this shoot, what was this film process cathartic for you, or kind of what have you taken away having made the film?
I don't know. I'm not really sure. I mean, like I said, I'm realizing a lot of things about the movie in hindsight. I move on pretty quickly. And so even the time from when you start thinking about a film to when you actually have the money to do it, and then by the time you're actually shooting on set, like it's so long. And it's, I don't know about other filmmakers, but it's hard for me to try to remember where I was and try to be that person. And you know, you kind of have to partly tap back into that while also trying to put some of who you are at the time. And even now I feel a little bit detached, and this whole festival experience has been like me trying to get back into it. And as I said, I'm learning. So I guess it does feel a little bit like a chapter closed, and now I'm just thinking again, you know, okay, who am I now, and you know, what am I interested in, or what's bothering me, and that'll be the next movie.
May I ask, who are you now? What are you interested in?
I'm really interested in working in documentary. I've done a lot of like short documentary for hire, but I want to do something that's going to be like my documentary. And it's something I'm getting ready to shoot in the Philippines, but I'm waiting for this pandemic to blow over. I don't really want to say more than that. But other than that, I'm really interested in writing some sort of satire. And I don't know what that is yet, but it's something I haven't done, and I'm really interested in taking a hand at it.
I feel like you could definitely pull that off. There were some very dry elements to this film that played almost like satire, just in their extreme dedication to the patheticness of the reality.
Thank you.
Like the guy who's too afraid to work out on a treadmill in front of someone else.
Right.
And when he finally is trying to cook, and it's like spraying, and he's like shocked by what.
Yeah, I love the tricking. I was like on the other side of a wall while he was doing that, and I'm surprised I wasn't heard laughing in the shot, because I was dying. I couldn't take it.
I think that's everyone's first cooking experience, maybe the first dozen
Yeah.
times. Cool. Thank you so much for your time, Martin, and
You're welcome.
I'm really looking forward to what you do next.
Thank you. Thanks for covering the film.
Enjoy the rest of your festival.
Hey, this is Eric from IONCINEMA.com. If you want to support us, subscribe below. For more reviews, interviews, film festival coverage from Sundance, Cannes, Toronto, you want to check out these guys on this side.